Hi, it's Susan from Susan B. Cards, and today I'm using some vellum, and this is an old pack that I've had for quite some time. I'm not even sure where I bought it, but it's by Artis, and it's 65 pounds. And I cut it down to the size of this folder, which is about 4.5 by 6.5. So I cut it down to fit. Now, if you've ever embossed vellum, often it cracks after you run it through the machine, and it looks okay if you mount it onto a white panel. It kind of hides the cracks. So I was wondering if I took a white ink pad and rubbed it on the inside of my folder, if it would hide the cracks or help kind of moisten the paper. So that was my idea. I was taking this Hero Arts pigment ink, and I'm just inking the folder on the raised side, which is opposite from what I usually do, because what I want it to do is push the ink from the back into the embossing folder. So there it is, and here's my piece of paper to fit. I'm just going to line that up carefully, and I'm going to run this through my embossing folder. I'll be right back. So here it is. The ink is pushed in from the back of the folder. So there's no ink on top of the folder, it's in the back. I'm trying to see if there's any cracking, putting it up to the light, and I don't see any cracking. So I'm going to think about what I'm going to do with this, but I just found it kind of interesting that you could push the ink from the back. Now, you wouldn't be able to do that on a regular piece of paper because you wouldn't be able to see it. You would have to mount the paper, whatever colored paper, whatever you wanted to use, this way. And you could do that. It's just that the entire image would be recessed. So, as you can see, you could probably take this and mount it on some kind of paper. You could probably do a darker color. Let's see if I have a darker piece here. This is just a scrap, but you can see how much the image now stands out. I just thought this was a different idea. You could always emboss the vellum and then carefully rub the white ink over the embossed image after you're done. But especially with this kind of embossing folder, there is a lot of background area, and it's very hard to rub the panel without getting ink in all these areas. It's different if there's a huge embossed image and it fills the whole panel. That's easier to rub an ink pad over. But with this, I wanted just to highlight the leaves, and it's done a pretty good job. You can see the veining of the leaves and the stems. So let me think about that, and I'll figure out what I'm going to do with this panel. What I'm first going to do is just trim the sides of this vellum, because I made it a little bit wider than I needed to, and I can see that the edges of the vellum aren't embossed. I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4. And that looks pretty good. So I left a little bit of space on the top and bottom so that I could just fold it over the back and just glue it on the back so you wouldn't see the adhesive through the vellum. I just want to be sure the line is in the proper place. So it looks like there's enough space there. And I'm going to line it up on this side. Yeah, that looks good. It's a little bit smaller on the bottom. I didn't leave very much space. So I did finish one because I made 2 of these. And I just happened to have a panel that was ready-made, just ink blended with some Distress Oxide inks. I'll link the color up in the description if you really want to know, because I can't really remember what colors these are. Anyway, so it kind of looked like this. So I just blended more ink on top, so I could see it a little bit better through the vellum, but it's still pretty soft. So I have some backgrounds that I just had in my stash, and I make these backgrounds, and just, if I don't have these for right that second, I just throw them in a box. So I actually have a lot of these. This is one that I just took some ink cubes and put it on a gel plate, and then I pressed it down. But you can kind of see what it would look like with a vellum over it. I would have to trim this a little bit more because it's a little bit too long. But this is what I did to try to choose which background to use for my card. I just went through some of these. This one is pink, and it's on watercolor paper, Distress Oxide inks. And here's another one, and this one looks pretty good. I think the key is not to have too many colors, too much busyness in the background, because it kind of interferes with how well you can see the vellum leaves. And here's a darker one. This one I think is also Distress Oxide ink, and this is on heavy stock mixed media paper. And this one looks pretty nice. It's fairly similar to this, maybe just kind of upside down, but just some colors that I used. The other thing that looks good is to take a dark piece of cardstock, and you can see the leaves. So maybe pick a green. This looks good. This is a dark navy. The best one out of this bunch was this. But for now, this is the one that's complete. So I'll have to mount this on a card and put a sentiment on it. But you can see here's where I folded the vellum over the back, and I put the adhesive here. It's just some tape runner, and I put a little bit of liquid glue just in the corners so that it would stay. And then now I could take this entire panel and mount it on a card. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did like this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. You can leave me a comment or any questions you might have. I'll leave my affiliate links in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.